Finally live. We're going to be going over a video today about somebody that APS's Josh hoped he'd never meet while he was doing time. And it's a guy I don't think I would have cared to meet either. This guy is something else. We're going to be looking at all the media that, well, not maybe every piece of media, but important media about it. First, let's look at Prison Horror Story.
I'm going to tell you a story about a guy that I'm glad I never met while I was in prison. What's crazy about this guy's story is he was locked up at the same time I was. He was in the state of Virginia, just at a different facility. And this guy truly was a real life monster. His name is Robert Gleason.
Boy, just look at that right there. When they got you in the smock and covering your hands, like he a slippery. He must have been a slippery fella sometimes. Like they ain't taking no chances with him.
Robert Gleason was serving life without parole, a guy from Massachusetts, supposedly an amazing tattoo artist, and also a hitman. Gleason even once stated himself that he broke the legs of a stiffening corpse just to get the body to fit inside the trunk of a car. He also said that he killed a guy because he called him a sucker for forgiving a $5 debt. Supposedly,
Damn. You talk about thin skin. This dude ain't got no fucking time for disrespect of any time.
Gleason was the guy called when somebody needed to be left in the woods over a debt. But this guy was nothing like your run-of-the-mill average prisoner. In fact, Virginia Department of Corrections even stated themselves that they had no idea how to deal with a guy like this because they had
What the fuck? That's one way to admit to a failure.
never before had a situation or a prisoner this calculating, manipulative, and dangerous.
Damn.
While serving this life sentence without parole here in Virginia, during the same time that I was in prison myself, Gleason was not satisfied with this life sentence at all. In fact, it wasn't that he wanted to go back to court to try to fight the charges that he was serving this life sentence for.
Oh, so he wasn't claiming to be not guilty.
It was actually the complete opposite. Gleason wanted the death penalty.
Oh, okay.
And this guy was going to do everything in his power to make sure that he got it. When I first heard about
Yeah. I guess one thing can be said about this guy. When he puts his mind to something, he does it all right. You're going to see that.
Robert Gleason, it was in 2009. I had only been locked up for a short period of time, but to hear the first story about this guy, in fact, the first story that let me know who this guy was at all, and that this was somebody who was actually serving time in a Virginia prison just like me, this was a scary thing. To think that what if I ever had to run across somebody like him or even him himself? But again, when I first heard about Robert Gleason in 2009, it was because of the fact that he had just killed his cellmate. He had beaten his cellmate to death, strangling him all the while, and put his cellmate's body back on his bunk, covered him up with the blanket. And while COs did their rounds and their counts, Gleason would stand there right next to the dead body of his cellmate, telling the passing guards, "Oh, he just doesn't feel good. He's sick." So guards were none the wiser for like half a day.
15 motherfucking hours. And usually I think they do rounds, what, once an hour or something like that. So for 15 hours, they just took his word and did not make the dude. I mean, usually they don't give a fuck if you're withdrawing or nothing. If they even buy to check sales and they ask you to stick, I mean, they may not care if you or make you like get up out the bunk and show your full body, but they're gonna want to see your head. That's why sometimes it's referred to as head counts, as it is right here.
It took the guards half a day to
The
figure
fact
out.
that they didn't even, at any of them 15 or whatever fucking rounds, they didn't even say, well, come on, man, make him show his head, you know, because hell, how do they know that he wasn't covering for him because dude had escaped or some shit and there was nothing but a bunch of stuff underneath the sheet to make it seem like somebody was there?
That this guy was dead inside of his cell and that Robert Gleason had killed him.
Bound,
Gleason,
gagged, and beaten. So, I mean, he probably came upon this dude while he was sleeping or something, stuffed socks and shit in his mouth and just fucked him up. I mean, that is a fucked up way to go.
Gleason thought this was going to be
And you
enough.
know why he done it though, don't you by now? He done it because this motherfucker's trying to still get the death penalty. He was on a kamikaze mission.
To get the death penalty. He wasn't going to serve this life sentence. And again, he was doing everything in his power to make sure he was going to get exactly what he wanted. But he went to court and he didn't get it. They didn't even give him the death penalty for killing.
So the fucking prosecutor was like, he don't deserve to be able to control his own destiny at this point. He doesn't deserve to have his death on the conscience of the state of Virginia. Yeah, they're gonna regret that.
His cellie. He was already serving life without parole. And then he kills his cellmate, hoping to go back to court to get the death penalty, and they don't give
If
it
I
to
was
him.
the family of anybody that he'd hurt or whatever, I'd be suing them now, knowing the fact that he mentioned this, he warned them, he said, "Oh, you gonna give it to me, because I'm gonna make you." And
Robert
they said, you know, anyway, I'll wait for that to come on.
Gleason told the judge, "You're going to give me the death penalty. And until you do, I'm going to kill more people." To me,
That right there, I would think could make the state liable. I mean, because they, you know, at the very least, there should be maybe a case that if somebody is like that and the state is wanting to not give in to what they want, maybe fucking isolate them permanently in a way they cannot reach anybody. How about that?
to be perfectly honest with you, I think they should have given it to him then. I think they should have honored his request. This guy was a stone cold.
Exactly. I mean, he had already admitted he didn't. I don't think he denied doing it. It's not like he could. He was locked in the cell with him.
Savage killer, and I just don't understand why they didn't give it to him then. What they did do, though, was ship him from the level 4 facility he was housed at to a maximum security level 5, a place called Red Onion. 23-1 is what this facility operates under.
So they decided that we got this lifer here that is not all right with the monotonous humdrum existence of being alive in prison. He says he's gonna kill people and go ahead and lock him up. He does kill another, and he says, "Well, we still ain't gonna give him the death penalty." "Oh, you gonna give it to me, or I'm gonna keep doing it." Oh, okay, we'll call you bluff. We're gonna send you to Red Onion.
That's 23 hours locked down, 1 hour out of your cell. And in most cases, that 1 hour out of your cell could be to either go take a shower or go to the rec yard. And rec yard at Red Onion is a small little dog kennel sized cage, one prisoner per small kennel cage, maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I have heard so many horror stories about this facility, Red Onion itself, how when they give you your tray, they just throw it inside of your cell and don't even care where it goes. It'll land on the floor. All of your food goes everywhere. Prisoners there, they live the absolute worst. Imagine being in a prison that is pretty much run like a solitary confinement for 5, 10, or even more years. But this is the facility they shipped Robert Gleason to after killing his cellmate. This is also where this story gets even more crazy. Because the second time I heard about Robert Gleason was when he was at his maximum security prison, Red Onion, and he had killed another prisoner on the rec yard. Now remember, the rec yards here at this facility are single small dog cage.
Well, I mean, like I said, they regret that, I'm sure. I mean, this dude, oh my God, this dude is evil.
Size kennel.
He obviously ain't gonna let boundaries hold him back from doing what he wants to do, evil or not.
Rec yards where only one prisoner can be in there per cage. But what I had heard was that Robert Gleason had literally strangled another prisoner through the cage.
What the fuck?
And he had literally gotten a makeshift rope made out of a sheet around another prisoner's
How?
neck in another cage and strangled this guy to death. My first thought is, how in the hell does this even happen? You're here at Red Onion with Robert Gleason. You know exactly who this guy is. How do you get that close to this individual to let him get a sheet around your neck and literally strangle you through the fence and kill you? It almost doesn't even sound real, but in fact, it is very real. The details that surround just how he was able to do this are almost unbelievable. The story goes is that Robert Gleason, this master manipulative person, this monster, I don't even know if you could call him a person, had concocted this plan with this other prisoner that they were going to sue the Department of Corrections due to this elaborate scheme that they had hatched. And the scheme was to go that Robert Gleason was going to strangle another prisoner.
Oh, hell no.
In a fake or mock strangulation.
Hell to the no. And this dude fucking believed him.
Just enough for this prisoner to pass out and not die. And then that prisoner who had been strangled,
maybe he ended up knowing what probably was going to happen and rather have that than live there. Man, that's sad.
Family would then be able to sue the Department of Corrections for, who knows, tons of money, maybe a release, who the hell knows? While Robert Gleason was concocting this plan with this other prisoner,
I imagine they probably could get some money now.
Whatever fucking reason is going along with this, thinking that this is a good idea. All the while, inside of Gleason's mind, he's knowing that this is not any type of a fake mock scheme here. He is actually going to do this to legitimately kill another prisoner. And supposedly, this guy that Robert Gleason planned all of this with was some sort of friend to him. Somebody that he obviously talked to tell them this sort of stuff. But supposedly, this friend told other prisoners about this plan, and that enraged Gleason.
Oh, fuck, man. Come on, man. I'm sure he had to have known he killed his last cellmate. Why are you going to go and talk about stuff he tells you? You ought to know you up in jail. That's going to piss people off.
So according to Gleason, that's when the target then became this so-called friend of his. Now, this plan was even more well thought out than just what I've told thus far. Supposedly, Gleason told this so-called friend that while they were going to do this, there was a possibility that afterwards, this prisoner's supposed victim would have to take a polygraph test. So they would need more of a story for this guy to be able to pass this polygraph. So when it came to being asked, why in the world would you let Gleason, Robert Gleason, this monster in the Virginia Department of Corrections, put a makeshift noose around your neck? The answer was supposed to be because he was measuring out the dimensions for a cross that he was going to make for me. But, you know.
What the? This is a fucked up story, I know, but you just almost can't laugh. It's so ridiculous. What the fuck? So that was going to be the excuse of why. And the whole time, dude's thinking he's going to end up letting off after he gets him to pass out or close to passing out, and he ain't going to let off at all. Hell no.
That was never to happen anyways, because again, Robert Gleason's ultimate plan was to just kill. And this was how he convinced this other prisoner to go along and basically fall into his trap. Now, when this took place on this maximum security rec yard, there were other prisoners who were in other cages who had to watch this. And when they
Hell
testified in
no.
court as to what they saw or what they didn't see, certain prisoners said that, they tried not to see this. They already knew Robert Gleason and the history behind this guy. They knew how dangerous he was. So in prison, you're really not supposed to see anything at all.
Yeah.
And they were testifying this in court. And another twist to this.
I'm surprised any of them said anything. I bet most of them was like, man, I was looking off into the sky.
Crazy story is the fact that when they were in court being questioned about exactly what they saw, it was Robert Gleason himself who was defending himself.
Oh, fuck no.
Asking these prisoners these questions. If it was me and I was in this courtroom and it was Robert Gleason asking me these questions,
no.
I didn't see anything, man. Nothing. There was a major
I bet
controversy.
You fuck with them and probably be like, you didn't see nothing. Are you absolutely
about how something like this could even actually happen, especially at a maximum security prison where prison staff.
I guess in that case, though, he wanted him to talk. So he probably was like, so what did you see? Oh, man, I saw you totally murked that dude. Oh, you did? Do you want to give more detail? Man, I'd rather not, unless you need me to. I think we need you to. Man, that was a fucked up situation. So not only did he do that shit, he didn't just let it play out. He went as far as being his own attorney to be able to question the this dude was something else.
It's supposed to be the best of the best, but it was later found out that that wasn't the case at all, because you have a guard booth that is literally right there watching out over the rec yards, and yet nobody in the booth saw this taking place. And it took something like an hour and a half before prison staff was
gotta be kidding, man,
even aware of this going on. And even more crazy is that all of this was caught on these prison cameras.
Oh yeah, that definitely could be a lawsuit.
They literally had this entire incident on camera. In fact, this is a still shot from that camera footage. You can clearly see.
What the? They released this shit? Damn, he's standing there to the left and the dude just right over there to the right, laying down. Hell to the nah, man.
Gleason right.
Rest in peace. Oh my God.
There in that one dog kennel cage, and the lifeless dead body of the other guy in the back of the other cage. It was through this footage that captured this entire incident that they were able to see just how this thing played out. It was said that in this footage, you could see Gleason strangling this other prisoner through the fence for something like 6 minutes. And then when he was done, he walked away. And from time to time, he would go back and strangle him some more anytime that he thought he saw signs of life in this guy still. In fact, the final time that he strangled this guy through the fence, he literally tied this makeshift prison rope made out of a bed sheet up to the fence, literally holding this guy's ass up off of the ground while the rest of his lifeless body was either dangling right there or tied up to the fence. And here also is a picture.
That's all it took, huh? Damn. Fuck, no. Yeah, I started to say, it's not like he got his hand through there. So this dude literally had to, he had to put one end through, the dude had to grab the other end, and he had to get his head up through the, man. Who knows though, y'all. I mean, dude might have thought that he was actually gonna end up doing this, and I mean that'd be hard for. I mean, unless he was really suicidal, I don't think you would just put your, and say, well, whether he's telling the truth or if he's not, either way, I'm gonna get up out of here. Like, I don't know why I thought that might be the case, but thinking about it now, it seems like that would put a lot of anxiety in somebody thinking about that before.
Of that fence and that makeshift rope that was used to strangle this other prisoner. It's a pretty crazy thing to think about. And that is the type of stuff that can and does happen in prison. As crazy as all of this sounds, I mean, this is absolutely true. This is probably one of the most unknown, crazy fucking stories from Virginia prisons that happened during the time that I was locked up. And to just think that I could have ended up at a place like this with an individual like Gleason. If you ask me what the most scary thing about being in prison is, it's hearing a story like that and knowing that you could potentially meet an individual like that. It's knowing that you never know who in the hell you are locked up around and what their true intentions are. Here you have this other prisoner who is just, for whatever reason, stupid enough to fall into a trap thinking that this is a potential lawsuit scheme. Yet all the while, Gleason here is thinking, this is my opportunity to kill again while in prison. And hopefully this second time that I will have killed in prison will be the time that they will actually give me what I want, the death penalty. An investigation took place after this for whatever reason. I have no idea. I mean, everything was already caught on the surveillance cameras, but the investigators actually asked Gleason if he did this to prove a point. And he stated, I fucking definitely did this to prove a point. And they asked Gleason what exactly that point was that he was out to prove today. And he said that I can still get at people.
I think they should take note.
Even at a maximum security 23-in-1 facility, I can still get at people. After this second murder, Gleason was given what he wanted. He was given the death penalty. And in the state of Virginia, and something that not very many other states still do these days, they offer you a choice when given the death penalty of how you want to die. You can either choose the electric chair, or you can choose the more humane way, I guess, which is lethal injection.
Seems like a no-brainer to me.
And Gleason, being this infamous monster type person that he was, obviously chose the electric chair. And
holy shit, this dude is motherfucking insane.
Electric chair is something that prisons and death penalties are trying to completely do away with. In fact, there had only been 12 recent uses of the electric chair.
Ain't no way that shit is not. I mean, they have to feel something initially. I mean, they just have to, because that's just, I don't believe that they don't, you know, because it's going to take a second, at least a few seconds, I'd think, before that voltage actually renders them unconscious, if it even fully does, you know. Hell, they say that even when you're put unconscious under anesthesia and stuff, that you're still fully aware. So, fuck that.
In the last, I don't know, 20 years maybe, and the last use of the electric chair was in 2013 when Robert Gleason was actually executed. And in any death penalty scenario, while awaiting your execution, I mean, literally like moments before that execution, you're able to say any last words that you may have. And verbatim, Robert Gleason's last words were, "Kiss my ass, put me on a highway to Jackson, and call my Irish buddies." And then he was executed.
Okay.
How's that for a crazy prison story? Bet your ass don't want to go to prison now, do you? And to be completely truthful with you, this was something that made me never want to be in prison myself either, especially knowing that all of this was going on all the while I was locked up myself in a prison just down the road. But again, I mean, it is prison, and shit like that can and really does happen. And what you just heard right there was probably something you've never heard about before. And honestly, I don't even know why, because it's one of the craziest damn stories I've ever heard about, especially while serving time myself. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment. Let me know exactly what you think about it. And until next time, please.
Let's see what this guy's like. Looks like he's been on camera a little bit.
The thing is, I'm hoping we can probably the same.
Police investigators. Oh shit. police investigators return to Red Onion. Okay, so he's already killed once in prison, but more questions for. So this was taken while he was probably, if not already, in the plan of strangling that dude. He was getting ready to be in that mindset about his PR, about his prison murders. Wait, how many prison murders did he have? Because it's got it plural. Born 1970. So he murdered a guy first to cover up his involvement in a drug gang. So he killed once. He killed this one guy, then another guy to cover up the gang stuff. Then he killed his first mentally ill cellmate, as if killing wasn't bad enough. He had to kill a mentally ill guy. He vowed to continue killing if they didn't kill him. He also claimed to kill other people before his incarceration. He said he was paid to kill them, so he was supposedly a hitman. And then he killed about at least 4 people. This guy did. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just let him.
The thing is, I'm hoping we can probably saying, well, you're trying to rush us here. Trying to get this done so I can get this ready for court. And then once this is over with, I'm done with this whole thing. I don't want to be bothered with, leaving the fuck alone. I'm done. You know, Bledsoe and Rivers, you know how long Bledsoe and Ronnie Kern, how long it took on the Armstrong case? 6 years. 6 years. This is what happened with Cooper. When I got mad at him, told him to do this to him or his mother, whatnot. And about a week went by, look, dog, we good. I was a little bit upset. Then I said, well, you're trying to get a lawsuit, ain't you? Yeah. So well, how about this? Let me put a noose around your neck. You pretend you pass out. First, it started off that he was going to be trying to work out, sit down because he was tired, and I was going to do a fucking Roy Rogers on him, I guess. You know what I mean? But the odds on that really happening, the way the rec cages are like fucking slim to none.
Right.
So I go, I explained to him how we're going to do it. And I said, when we get out there, I'm going to ask you certain questions so you can pass a polygraph of bullshit them. You know what I mean? So when I get you out there and say, hey, I'm making me a religious necklace, and I put it around your neck. And he's like, sure. You know what I mean? And then he yelled out to Sparrow, because I asked Sparrow, what do you remember? I wasn't trying to lead Sparrow.
Right.
But I had to tell him, didn't you remember him saying that? I finally had to get him, oh yeah, I remember that now. Anyways, he yells to Sparrow, hey, how big is your junk? Whatever they call junk, like the cross thing. And he said, this big and this and that. And I said, now, you ready? He goes, yeah. So he sat down. The last words were, don't kill me. He did not know he was going to get killed. That's why they're saying all this. I'm like, where the hell would they get this assisted suicide shit? Last words, don't kill me. I sent out a letter to State Police McClanahan.
Yeah.
Sent him a letter July 28th.
Yeah, remember that's why I come over here,
Yeah.
because Marcus was gone.
Like I said,
But basically Cooper's thing was he was going to get a transfer lawsuit.
yeah.
Okay.
Said
Okay, because I think
you told me that once before, but
Well, no, you guys brought it up to me before, and I'm like, yep, someone's talking. I'm sure you see an expression on my face. You know what I mean? I'm like, someone's talking. Son of a bitch, how many people did he tell? You know?
Yeah.
And so I was trying to like, well, kind of, you know, I'm beating around the bush. You know, I'm bullshitting. Even I knew you guys, you know, I mean, come on. He was trying to get the lawsuit, and wasn't assisted suicide. He wasn't trying to kill himself, but that there, I think, is going to kill his mother's lawsuit.
Okay.
Well, won't get as much, I guess. I'm trying to talk to Cooper's mother's attorney now, Mary Lynn Tate. I'm going to say, well, yeah, I warned him, but the thing is, he was trying to get a lawsuit. He was going to do pass out thing. This is the thing. I told him to hold his breath, pass out, because what's going to happen is when they put you in, so I'm sure Yates is going to ask you, or you can offer a polygraph test, and you can pass it. You can pass it. Gleason asks you, hey, I'm making a religious nexus. Can I put this on you? Because these are the things I did. I ran it through him, so you can pass it.
right.
You know what I mean? And he was like, all right. I said, now, did it say I choked you out? What you got to do, you got to hold your breath. That's why he didn't fight. He passed out. I said, take a deep breath, then hold it, and I'll just tighten it up. And as soon as he went out, that's when I yanked him. Little D, the reason why he did this with his ear, because he knew before we went out there, I said, look, I want you to stay in that corner, right, so the camera don't see you. Once he's completely done that you think, just go like this with your ear. He was so nervous, he started running around the track. Right? I'm like, oh, I'm laughing at him. Right? I'm like, God damn, dude. Say, hey, Daisy, Dad, pull on your ear. And that's when he went like that. He almost pulled the goddamn ear off. Because I wanted to kill the little bastard. And right now, he doesn't realize I was going to kill him. I'm sure when he knew I was getting mad at Cooper, and he backed out. Little D was going to let me put the noose around his neck. I was going to kill him. And then when Cooper started shit, I'm like, I don't kill that motherfucker. He goes, you know what, Bob, I'm kind of upset. I don't think I want you to put that around my neck. And he said that. Then I can get all this out on tape. Now, let me ask you something. Is that aiding and abetting him making that, all that?
Probably a cop for Commonwealth.
Yeah, that's a call above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I mean, if
He made it. He knew it.
that's something that they'll like I said, somebody above my pay grade will have to make that decision.
Because if they do charge him, I would like to get a whole video on me on a test, whatever, because after this is over with, I'm done. I'm done.
I'm saying you're tired of this crap, ain't you?
I'm sure you guys are tired of coming up here too.
Man. Oh, shit. Another video. This might be when he killed the first guy.
Because I don't do what I gotta do from being fucked with before. That's the only way to stop it. And now he's saying there's no way you get a death penalty. And I use this guy as like a security blocker, like an ace in the hole. I did someone a favor because they're gonna do me a favor. They August 31st, I don't get it. Someone up here ain't gonna have a good ride home.
So elaborate a little bit what you did.
I did a favor taking this clown out.
Okay.
So
somebody owes you a favor.
Yeah.
That's what you're telling me. Okay. Hey, Cooper ticked somebody out basically.
oh, you took a lot of people out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling them before, all the going down, like, look, man, these motherfuckers, this is the one that they're calling you rat on this guy's family, and just talking them like, you come to me, asking for favors and this and that. There's a lot more to it. I ain't gonna get into it right now.
Okay.
And I don't keep a lot of stuff back
Well,
right
will you
now.
tell me this much?
Yeah.
How did you talk him into doing this in Brett? No, tell me.
Not at this point.
Okay,
You know,
I respect
you,
that. I just,
you and I will sit down, long, that's what got
okay. Can you tell me where the road and stuff came from?
definitely.
From you? Okay. Did you bring it out with you when you came out?
Oh, did I bring it up?
When
No,
you came out from
no.
your cell?
I gave it to somebody to make it for me, and they left it out there for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, once he got out there, you helped him. Basically,
He wasn't gonna put on his helmet.
yeah. So you got to overlook it.
Now the shit I found out he's a useless piece of shit.
So, I found, I done the forensics. So, I found 2 knocks on your side of the cage there. And then, loop around through the cage.
Sure he is.
But both those were pretty loose. So, did you tie those or?
Oh, here he is in court. I wonder if there was anything from court.
Looked like that he hung himself on there, but he spit at me. So then I lit him up. I told him what was going to happen. I was waiting for one of the house guys to come by with the barrel. See, at lunchtime, they come by with the barrel for your tray. I was trying to con one of them and, hey, turn your back. I need to get him out of the barrel, but he wouldn't do it. I was going to stick him in the barrel, but rigor mortis kicked him. Couldn't do it.
What?
Remorse for this? No. Am I on a suicide mission? No. My thing is, I'm not going to say as a threat. It is what it is. If you guys give me life, sooner or later I have to go to population. I'm not Armstrong. I will sign any kind of waiver you want beforehand, whatever's legal, saying I will not appeal this death penalty. Wash my hands with it, send me to Sussex. But if I get life, I'll end up in population sooner or later. Someone's going to get it. Ain't going to be an inmate. I don't give a rat's ass if a fucking nun went by. I ain't going to do it half-assed. Like
Damn.
Douglas or the other clowns did. Now, you guys take that off. Mullins Ridge could have prevented a death. My fault. It's my fault. The only remorse I have, my kids got to deal with their father being a scumbag. Since I got messed with, the only way to prevent me from fucking taking someone else out is to get the death penalty. Do I deserve the death penalty? Damn right it is. Your law states premeditation, inmate killing. There's a lot more that's going to be said on this stand when it does go to trial. If it wasn't for my kids, I'd take Lonnie's deal. Lonnie says it's second degree with no time. You ain't sweeping this underneath there. And I do have contacts with my club through media, not the one that the Dina Potter we're talking about. I was like, I want this to be known. It was premeditated, and you guys can do to me to hurt me. Nothing. But there's something you guys can do to prevent someone else from getting hurt. It's on you. You know what I mean? It's on you guys. Put the death back on, let the jury hear it, and go with it. After that's over with, I'll be cuffed everywhere I go at Sussex. Leave me alone. I'm going to push this to go through right away. It might be a couple of years. But I can't guarantee nothing will happen to another staff member. That's my word. Take that for whatever you think it's worth. Put a letter for this guy's family. You know what I mean? Yeah, you guys may think he's crazy. But you know what? He couldn't help it. I did everything I could to not to kill this man. But when he played games, I planned it. You know what I mean? Because I was taunting him. Yeah, it's coming. All these rules you should have went by, it's coming, Holmes. I even gave him a cigarette, like, here you go, compadre. Enjoy that motherfucker.
Damn.
You know, I got no remorse for it.
This dude's cold-blooded.
Zero. Let me ask you a question if you want to answer it, and you don't have to. If you had a chance today to prevent another death, wouldn't you do it? You don't have to answer it, but if you'd say no, I'd call you a liar. You know, here's your chance for one death that shouldn't have happened. You have a chance to stop another one. I feel justice would be served for that man, because that man shouldn't have been in my cell, no matter what he did in his past. Someone should have helped him.
Well, that's cliche to say after you killed him. Somebody should have helped him. I wasn't going to. I was going to use him. Alright, now I'm going to show y'all about somebody who is a whole nother level of scary. Oh, I haven't seen this. Looks like they made it into a series, although I think I'd rather show y'all the actual. He ended up finally killing himself because he didn't want them to leak certain things he was giving them, and they did.
The newly released tapes granting an astonishing fascinate us.
You're watching 34-year-old Israel Keys describe over coffee and a bagel his strategy for hunting and killing innocent people.
Back when I was smart, I would let them come to me. Just remote area. Kind of go to a remote area that's not anywhere near where you live, that other people go to as well.
The police interrogation is in Anchorage, Alaska, where Keys was being held for the murder of 18-year-old barista Samantha Koenig, seen here putting her hands up the very moment a masked Keys pulls a gun on her. He zip ties her hands and leads her away from the coffee stand, telling police he killed her, then left to take a cruise out of New Orleans before asking her family for ransom. Gruesome as it is, Keys wasn't done talking. In fact, the man who matter-of-factly confessed to raping and murdering Koenig left investigators stunned by telling them he's a serial killer.
There is no one who knows me or who has ever known me who knows anything about me, really.
We did spend a fair amount of time talking about crimes and defenses as well, and those times were definitely very chilling to hear him talk about what he's.
Don't y'all think it's interesting how this agent has similarities to the girl that, yeah, they did that for, they even go over it in the extended, like, over 2-hour thing that she was picked for that reason because they figured that he would open up to her.
Done.
FBI Special Agent Jolene Godin interviewed Keys over a period of months, sitting in the same room with a man she now believes to be a real-life monster.
He was very meticulous. He was very organized. He definitely planned everything that he did.
Keys traveled the country from Alaska to Vermont, looking for people to kill totally at random, and funding his crimes by robbing banks. The FBI has now retraced his steps, a long list of dates and locations since 2001, when they believe he may have killed repeatedly. They so far have 8 confirmed murders and rapes, including a couple in Essex, Vermont, 4 others in Washington State, and 1 more on the East Coast, with the body hidden in New York. And he told agents something they'd never heard before, that he left kill kits or caches buried in several states, filled with everything he'd need to commit a murder. They were in waterproof containers or 5-gallon buckets and included guns and different things he could use to dispose of bodies. His strategy to grab people in remote
That's something I never, in all the cases I've seen, I've never heard of somebody being that fucking, like he would say, oh, I'd be, in Virginia or whatever for vacation, come up with this idea, make a kit, leave it. 2 years later or something, he'd come back, retrieve that kit, go and commit a murder, get rid of it, put everything back in the bucket, bury it, could use it for later or abandon it, and then would go all the way back to Alaska. I mean, you think about it, he was planning on how to do stuff without being tied, and without having to dispose of anything or really, he said, you do that, then you don't have to travel with anything and everything. He's dangerous.
Locations like parks, campgrounds, cemeteries.
Every serial killer, including, I believe, Mr. Keys, are not crazy. You cannot be that organized and deliberate and fit any legal definition of insanity.
You might not get exactly what there's not as much to choose from in a manner of speaking, but there's also no witnesses really. There's nobody else around.
Investigators say Keyes is a textbook serial killer. Like other famous killers in the past, he took pleasure in the act of taking a life.
He talked about the rush that he got out of it, the adrenaline and kind of the high from doing it. And I think, unfortunately, I think he enjoyed what he was doing.
There is nothing probably greater than holding the power and control of someone's life and looking him in the eye and being able to control all of that is intoxicating to serial killers. And that's why they keep doing it.
Keyes also told Agent Godin that he could relate to notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, who confessed to 30 murders before being executed in 1989. The two killers had similar methods.
It's very common for serial killers to have no relationship with the individuals they ultimately killed. Many times they will not do it in their own community. Mr. Keyes, Ted Bundy fits this profile.
Prolific serial killers choose their victims carefully, like Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer.
But I thought I was doing you guys a favor, killing prostitutes.
Ridgway was ultimately convicted of 49 murders and confessed to even more.
Party plead to the charge of aggravated murder in the first degree as charged in count 45.
Guilty.
Like Ridgway, Keyes seemed to enjoy slowly revealing his secrets.
I'm two different people, basically.
How long have you been two different people?
Long time. 14 years.
Keyes said enough to start a massive investigation, but he didn't tell them everything. Sunday, they found his body. He'd killed himself with a razor inside his jail cell. One final act of control. I'm Neil Karlinski for Nightline in Seattle.
And he left these pentagram, he had taken his blood while he was killing himself, and he had drawn these skulls, and they think each skull that he drew in blood represents a victim. And then the final thing was like a pentagram type-esque symbol that they thought, because his philosophy was, I don't know, something to the effect that those kills transcended him or some type of weird shit. I don't know. He was fucking something else. Here's those drawings right here. Matter of fact, hold on. Oh, come on. Damn, it's not what I want. That's what I want right there. See, those are the, and then here is partly the one that they think represents his death. But as you see, he's got these skulls with these like upside down crosses, and that's his blood. He was a weird one.
In 2012, Alaskan law enforcement came face to face with perhaps one of this country's most prolific serial killers. His name is Israel Keyes. Over the next 7 months, he played a cat and mouse game with investigators, divulging clues about other victims. So Peter Vincent got a first look at the evidence and a look at the FBI's case.
Please help find my daughter.
In February of 2012, 18-year-old Samantha Koenig vanished after her night shift at this roadside espresso stand. Residents of Anchorage, Alaska were shaken.
It basically looked like someone just literally walked out of their shift.
But Samantha had not walked out voluntarily. The next day, investigators watched what happened unfold on security camera video. A masked assailant had approached the window.
When you raise your hands like that, it's usually because somebody's doing
Something,
this.
exactly.
FBI Special Agent Jolene Godin was part of the team trying to find Samantha.
At this point, you see an individual jump in through the window.
So remember, he had done all of these other murders. It wasn't, they had no idea about him working or anything. Like obviously some of the other people were missing or had found dead maybe, but they had no idea who was. It wasn't until he had gotten this brazen, because remember, this is his community. He had never done something like this before, so he went outside his traditional modus operandi.
The window.
Right through the window.
He actually took her to his house, out in a shed, with his all the while he had his wife and daughter in the house. Went out to the shed, turned music up, eventually killing her, sewing her eyelids open to take a picture for ransom, and then going on a cruise with his wife and child down in New Orleans before coming back, I think, and then finally disposing of it. Like it just left her there in the shed while he took off on vacation.
Have you ever seen something like that before?
No. And then you see two individuals walk away. It looks like an abduction.
After tracking unusual activity on Samantha's ATM card, police arrested 34-year-old Israel Keys 4,000 miles away in Texas.
And who the heck is Israel Keys?
Israel Keys was not even on our radar.
What they didn't realize at the time is that they had just arrested one of the most monstrous serial killers in American history.
Once I started, and there was nothing else like it.
Keys confessed to killing Samantha Koenig, and over the course of several months, pointed investigators to 3 other victims, Bill and Lorraine Currier in Vermont, and Deborah Feldman in New York.
Why did you pick these folks? I didn't. It was just random.
But investigators believe that there are at least 7 more victims based on these drawings found in Israel Keys' cell, drawn in his own blood.
Has the public ever been shown this before?
No.
And the significance of 11 skulls.
We believe that 11 is the total number of victims.
And investigators, like FBI Special Agent Catherine Nelson, are determined to identify them.
Do you have an optimistic streak that says we can find answers to the other 7 cases?
I do. I absolutely do. And it won't be easy by any means. And it may take a long time, but I'll never give up trying.
So Peter Van Sant is joining us now. Peter, aside from those creepy pictures, why do investigators believe that there are other victims and that they could be all over the country?
Well, Israel Keys loved to travel. He would fly to some part of the United States, rent a car, and sometimes drive several thousand miles along the way. So he was in a whole bunch of states. I mean, this is just a partial list. Alaska, Vermont, Washington, Oregon, New York, New Jersey, California, Texas, Illinois, Tennessee, Indiana, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Minnesota, Nevada, and even parts of Canada. And he told authorities that when he had this compulsion to kill that would come over him, he would select someone completely at random. So they believe there are at least 11 deaths, but the speculation is with all that travel that he did and with his unusual compulsion, there may be many more.
Peter, the FBI showed you those drawings and other evidence for the very first time. What else did they show you, and why are they doing that? Why are they choosing this moment to do so?
Well, they called Israel Keys the most meticulous serial killer in American history for a reason. He would pre-position these things he called kill caches. They'd be like an orange barrel. Inside would be a gun, weapons, a rope, zip ties, things that he would use that if he was driving in an area and wanted to kill somebody, he could access this cache and use that for his abduction and murder. And the reason why the FBI is showing us these haunting pictures, as you see here, and the kill cache items, is that they want people to call the FBI if they have a missing loved one, a missing persons case that's never been solved. Somebody was out hiking, because remember, he took people completely at random and often went to trailheads to get hikers and things. So they're hoping that the public will come forward
with questions, with tips that, hey, I have a loved one that may have been one of his victims.
Wow. Really fascinating stuff. And Peter, your report was airing this weekend, but let me just also offer you some congratulations and to the entire team at 48 Hours, including executive producer Judy Tygard. You guys have been renewed for another year.
I wonder, this actually might be good to see if this is kind of like a recreation.
I'm Professor David Wilson. As a criminologist, I'm often asked, what's it like to interview a murderer?
As you can see here, everything in this room is audio taped.
To answer this question, I'm going to take you on a journey into the dark heart of the police interrogation room. Using cutting-edge lip technology, we bring to life the actual tape confessions of some of the world's most notorious killers.
I put it in her mouth, tell her there so she can breathe.
And bring you face to face with evil.
I felt sick looking at him, knowing what he did.
And along with forensic psychologist Professor Michael Brooks, I'll analyze their interviews in unparalleled detail.
Her skull gave way a little bit. She was there, immediately unconscious.
Their wicked words, now seen spoken for the very first time, will never be forgotten.
So I didn't suggest to him to kill her on Sunday. I knew that she had to be gone.
We still love talking riddles. We do that. I wonder if the subject would have anything interesting to say.
Probably just the bar.
Oh, Tony Bonnie. How funny.
The killer in today's program is perhaps the most infamous serial killer that no one has ever heard of. In 40 hours of interviews, he talked of many different murders, and authorities believe there were in excess of a dozen. He had developed the perfect serial killing persona and plan until he murdered his final victim, Samantha Koenig, too close to home. In fact, in his own hometown of Anchorage, Alaska. Prior to this, all of his victims had been murdered across the many different states of America. This makes him a transient serial killer and therefore much more difficult to detect. In addition, as an ex-military man, his murders were plotted in great detail, down to him burying caches of murder weapons or kill kits in the ground at multiple locations. His interrogation is characterized by his total command of the interview room and the situation in which he finds himself. We see clear traits of his psychopathy on display, ranging from his grandiose manner, attempts at manipulation, and his boredom of being questioned by those whom he considers to be his inferiors. Ultimately, he denied his victims justice by taking his own life before he could be tried for his crimes. Who is this serial killer with many of his secrets to the grave?
My mother died during
Israel Keys.
She was a prostitute, and he was her.
When police pulled Israel Keys over in March 2012, they had all hallmarks of a typical speeding ticket scheme.
Ran away, fell in with the gang.
The out-of-state plates on the vehicle aroused the officer's suspicions, as did Keys' informant to their questions.
Taught me how to see all that was good in the world. Great man in a way.
Those suspicions were confirmed when, in the trunk of his vehicle, they found what could perhaps be described as a kidnap kit, an array of items, including a ski mask and zip ties. And alongside them was the mobile phone backup of a young woman reported missing thousands of miles away. Her name was Samantha Koenig.
And a rich man can be elected governor.
From the outset, Keyes was determined to portray himself as an enigma to the detectives who tried to question him. The interrogations reached a turning point when the FBI arrived. They believed Keyes may have been responsible for multiple murders committed in a multitude of states. With the FBI before him, Keyes now relished the opportunity to face off against his inquisitors. For him, this was all a game of the mind. Claiming to speak on only his own terms, his ploy was to drip-feed investigators information. For Keyes, this was all about power and control, to prolong the interview sessions and heighten the anticipation of new information that may help to identify any of the victims.
I didn't know you had a wife and child. Then again, I don't think I ever asked.
Gradually, Keyes would reveal the horrific details of his secret cycle of crime that had lasted nearly a decade and cost a number of lives.
Let's go.
My benefit and on my timeline by withholding information and giving information out.
What's fascinating about this case, for me, is that Israel Keyes breaks all the rules that we normally associate with serial killers. He's very unusual in the sense that he's willing to travel thousands of miles to set up his kills.
So he'd often get on an airplane, fly to a location, hire a car, drive hundreds of miles. He had no particular type, he killed all different types of people.
He was a man who was thoughtful about his offences, meticulous in plan.
What he would do in some cases is have these murder kits that he would bury.
It's as if he sees what he's doing as him being deployed into an area, carrying out his mission, and then moving out again.
So he was always going to be a man who was difficult to catch.
Had the police not had a stroke of luck with him, he would have probably got away with it for many, many years, if not forever. It's interesting, his name is Israel, and yet he was brought up in a Mormon family.
He didn't go to school, he was homeschooled by his parents, and he was certainly brought up with a very strong sense of right and wrong and very religious values instilled into him.
He was very not considered a loner, and that's what he was comfortable with.
As a youngster, Keyes moved with his family to Stevens County, Washington. Whilst there, he attended the extreme evangelical church school known as the Ark.
So we've got that kind of indoctrination of kind of right-wing ethos in his childhood.
As he progressed through adolescence, these hateful teachings began to manifest themselves in a desire to find a means to express his hateful thoughts. He believed the best outlet for his growing desire to express his thoughts of violence was to join the army.
His time in the army meant that he picked up certain skills that were vital to when he carried out plans.
The way of thinking he would learn in the military. To someone with these kinds of views was interacted with those prejudicial views, giving him a way forward, a way to actually act.
They trained him to be a marksman. They taught him how to kill with the gun, with detachment.
He was very good at observing people. He was very good at scouting out the best locations in which he could carry out his crimes and wouldn't be caught.
The potential of these types of narratives lie dormant in people like Israel Keyes, and all it takes is some trigger. The trigger here was unquestionably his discharge from the military, and that activated this whole narrative in which he's the honourable hero.
Keyes left the army in 2001. He had served 3 years, by which time he was a highly skilled and decorated marksman.
When he came out, he entered into that kind of rootless nomadic lifestyle and drifted until he eventually ended up in Alaska.
He sets up a construction business, and at the same time, he claims he was robbing banks. The issue of robbing banks is quite important because although he had a construction business and was quite successful, he says he robbed banks to pay for his gain. So it makes sense if he's actually trying to separate his crime behaviour from his ordinary life.
For the successful serial killers, part of their very inner psychology is that they can operate, function normally while still at the same time killing multiple people.
But the question still remains, why did he go on to kill? Especially when the victims he targeted didn't emerge from any obvious target group. And this was a question he was determined to make very difficult for those interrogating him to answer, because he was a man who liked to talk in riddles.
There is no one who knows anything about me, really. They know they're going to tell you something that does not line up with anything I tell you because I'm two different people, basically. And the only person who knows about what I'm telling you, the kind of things I'm telling you, is me.
How long have you been two different people?
A long time. 14 years.
Josh, split personality. Nobody will ever know the real Israel. Do you buy that? Do you buy the split personality?
I don't. There's aspects to his personality, but I think the control of who he is. If he's been planning it, then actually he's fully in control through all the whole time. With a split personality, you tend to switch between one persona and another, and not have the connection with it. He knew exactly what he was doing in the planning.
I've got difficulty about being a transient serial killer is ultimately it costs money. And of course, does that then lead to him committing various frauds or bank robberies?
There's some committing bank robberies, but it's also part of the thrill of undertaking activity. We know that one of the reasons why he perpetuated these offences was because of the adrenaline rush that he got. And it was very extensive planning, and meticulous of it would be something that he would have relished and enjoyed.
Most serial killers particularly will have a script for the way that a murder will unfold, but they will also have a particular victim type that they will be looking for. And in this case, he really didn't. He was indiscriminate in who he targeted, and it was all, I think, the opportunity. So actually, he was more driven by the location rather than the victim.
Remote areas where camper vans where you park up for a stop, for a rest or a picnic. So areas where people automatically wouldn't be noticed missing because they were transient.
Committing a murder in New York State, committing a murder in Washington State, 1,000 miles of difference. There's no way the local police are going to identify the serial killer. He had hiding spots where he hid weapons and the materials he was going to use for his abduction of his victims. They ranged, according to him, from Washington, New York, and possibly places like Texas and Arizona. He claims that he actually hid the weapons and the material so that he could then go and pick his victim.
This deal. Everyone gets second verse with the right plan, wins on the set.
There's also no witnesses.
A lot of information in terms of those clips. Let's deal with this modus operandi point that he reveals, that he's like a spider in a web waiting for people to come to him as opposed to him going out searching for victims. That's quite unusual, isn't it?
Not necessarily. I mean, although it's rarer. So whereas a stalker will stalk an individual and follow them, what he's doing is stalking an area. He's laying out a trap and waiting for people to come into his lair.
He was quite happy to delay until the opportunity of safe killing presented itself. He was extremely methodical and efficient. The military, I think, had armed him with a full and impressive skill set.
As his interviews with detectives and the FBI continue to unfold, it's clear he's taking a great deal of pleasure in the knowledge that he holds information the authorities desperately want. He's playing a well-thought-out game, something clearly evident by his continued composure and air of superiority. The murder of his final victim, Samantha Koenig, only came to light because he killed her in his hometown and his movements were captured on CCTV. This uncharacteristic lack of planning on his behalf is out of sync with the killing persona he carefully nurtured. But just why did he do this? In my experience, it's wrong to say serial killers want to be caught. But when authorities discover information on a home computer that details one of his earlier murders, that of a married couple called the Couriers, he makes no attempt to deny the crime. In fact, he relishes the opportunity to reveal details of his MO. But once again, this is part of his game plan, to reveal a little information, but not the whole story, which gives him both power over his interrogators and control of the interview room.
Keyes' career as a serial killer would last many years. At the core of his ability to evade capture was the fact he was highly organized and planned each of his murders and the disposal of his victims in fine detail. But as is so often the case with serial killers, they become so convinced of their own invincibility that it leads to them taking greater and greater risks, including killing closer and closer to home. And the murder, which would seal Keyes' fate, would take place in his hometown of Anchorage.
Samantha Koenig was Israel Keyes' last known victim. She was an 18-year-old barista at a local coffee booth.
All his previous murders were very well planned, organized. For some reason, he decided to kill a local person and he didn't think about being identified.
These people become emboldened, they get almost a sense of invincibility. And he probably in his own warped mind thought, why should I travel all the way to Texas when there's a girl down the road that will do just as well?
Or maybe the opportunity was presented to him in his own environment and it was just too good an opportunity in his eyes to actually walk away from.
While he was able to lead the secret life and stay one step ahead of everybody and live this high-octane, risky life of murder and robbery, he felt probably empowered and quite enriched by the whole experience. His one mistake, of course, is to murder somebody on his own doorstep.
Keyes took Koenig to a remote cabin location. Once there, she was bound and gagged to prevent her escape. And then she was subjected to an unrelenting series of sexual assaults.
The victims are nameless. They are simply members of the enemy for him. Who they are as people matters not. What matters is that they are part of the enemy, part of legitimate targets for his campaign.
If somebody is prepared to commit the sorts of crimes that Israel Keyes was, nothing else matters. They are just an object to serve the needs of that offender.
Her ordeal only ended when Keyes strangled her to death. the murder of Samantha Koenig broke every rule of Keyes' own killing codebook. Not only had he abducted and killed the young woman on his doorstep, but he had made no plan or provision for the disposal of her body. Believing the isolated cabin to be a secure location to store her body, he used whatever was at hand to create a makeshift cover for the corpse before locking the cabin up. As his victim lay dead on the floor, Keyes went on vacation, taking a cruise to New Orleans. But Samantha Koenig was soon missed by those close to her, and a nationwide search ensued. And CCTV was soon released, showing a disguised Keyes abducting her from the coffee shop where she worked. When Keyes returned from his holiday, he believed he could profit from Samantha Koenig's disappearance, and the fact that no one other than him knew she was dead. He returned to Samantha Koenig's body. Despite the fact it had started to decompose, he staged her so that she appeared to be alive, and then photographed her next to a current copy of the Anchorage Times newspaper. He proceeded to send the picture to Samantha's parents, and using her phone, demanded a ransom from them if they ever wanted to see their daughter alive again.
He had demanded a $30,000 ransom for her return, but Samantha was already dead.
Samantha's parents, desperate for their daughter's safe return, didn't alert the authorities and followed Keyes' instruction to deposit $30,000 into their daughter's account. With the money transfer complete, he disposed of Samantha's body in a lake north of Anchorage. But his greed was about to lead to his downfall.
Then stupidly went on a spending spree effectively across the southern states, taking money out of bank accounts.
He's filmed taking money out of the ATM using a card. He's also filmed when he rented a car, so they were able to link up the two photographs and show who it was.
They become careless, and that's when they fall foul.
Even though he went to such lengths throughout his criminal career to maintain his freedom by planning and keeping the links between him and his victims impossible to detect, at the end of it, he still had a victim's bank card that he used, and it was killing in his own hometown that meant that he was finally arrested.
My position is that I want to talk to them about the Twain case and find out where we stand with it. But you know, we can't do that. Right.
That, for me, is very interesting because, of course, this last murder is completely and utterly different from his first sequence of murders. He's killed a local girl, for one thing. Does that for you suggest, because lots of people when they talk to us think that that means that they're trying to be caught, is that what's going on? He believes he's going to be caught if he behaves like this?
Not necessarily, but I think we are into an area of speculation because there isn't any form of indication of why he's done it. So if we're speculating, then we know that he's a person who likes adrenaline, then actually is this the next challenge? And we know that with serial killers, it's the excitement. Was he trying to do something a bit different?
So the challenge, if I pick you up rightly, is that he no longer becomes this geographically transient serial killer, but a stable serial killer. He's going to target the Koenig girl in Anchorage itself, and indeed he's going to be caught on CCTV using her credit card. Do you think that's just about a challenge, or do you think that's because he thinks by this stage he is so powerful he can get away with it?
He's miscalculated. He didn't know he was going to get caught by using the bank card, and that there'd be a video camera there recording that, and also picking up the car rental plate. So that wasn't a factor in his calculations.
I find it quite ironic that in the end, the blinkeredness, the prejudice which drove this man to kill was the same psychological process that got him caught in the end. It was his inability to see things from the perspective of anybody else that in the end catches up with him.
Even if we take every precaution, we ultimately make mistakes, whatever we do, and are held accountable. For many of us, it's of no consequence. For him, it was the end.
Keyes' frustrating tactic of offering officers a little information only to withdraw his further cooperation has now set a dangerous precedent for his interrogators. He's clearly playing a one-sided game with them, and it's headed for checkmate, because unlike most killers who get caught, Keyes is unconcerned about his fate and makes no attempt to plea bargain. The reason for this only becomes clear when you realize that he had no intention of standing trial and would take his own life before going to court. The only thing he seems preoccupied with is his own reputation and not wanting to be viewed in the same light as other serial killers who've made the headlines. He considers himself to be more important than them, and his killing to have been carried out for his own secret.
Brownie snoring, sounds like.
And so he issues his final ultimatum.
That's not me, that's Brownie.
He wants his own
He
name
snugged
to
up
be
next
kept
to
out
me.
of the press if he's to give the authorities
buddy.
any more help as to
You
the
snoring.
whereabouts and identities of any of his other victims.
The really interesting thing with Israel Keyes is there's no real motive behind the murders. These weren't people he knew. They weren't people that had
Sometimes he'll wince in his sleep. He'll go,
wronged him. He just wanted to target people, and he
I
just
guess
wanted
he's
to kill
dreaming
them
about
because
something.
he wanted to get away with it.
Probably
Through
chasing
the
a
first
cat.
several hours of interviews with detectives and the FBI, Keyes was proving to be impenetrable. And despite those present being convinced the murder of Samantha Koenig was not an isolated incident, they remained puzzled. The pattern of Keyes' murders didn't fit the profile of any serial killer they'd ever met before. Yet after hours of grandstanding with his interrogators, Keyes finally reached an impasse and laid out the terms on which he would cooperate and provide information. Astonishingly, he was concerned about his reputation and demanded his name be kept out of the newspapers in return for information about the identity of other victims. Keyes proceeded to talk about the murders of Bill and Lorraine Courier.
Even if the police agreed and didn't say nothing, like, they're still going to find your case publicly.
Couple who had disappeared without trace thousands of miles away in Vermont.
I'll give you the location of this house, but I don't want the locals involved.
The power and control that he yielded over this entire investigation by informing the police where the Courier family, where they were to be found. That was bizarre, because what he was doing there, he was relishing the whole investigation and the fact that what was happening was all to do with his work.
Although Keyes didn't want that publicity, he enjoyed the notoriety, and he really did toy with his interviewers. He turned it into his own show.
I told you from the get-go, before I told you where the freaking bodies were left, I told you that I didn't want the locals involved. The first thing you do is make a big scene, do a big freaking archaeological dig right alongside the main road. I didn't see any reason to bring anyone back there in that area into the fold, so to speak, as to what was going on.
They didn't have a clue anyway. You know, next thing I know, there's like articles in the paper, like this big dig site going on. You know, there was a lot more discreet ways to handle it. You know.
Huh.
Despite Keyes' claims that the authorities had
You
betrayed
don't get discreetness, motherfucker.
his confidence, investigators were able to piece together the final movements of the couriers. Several years previously, Keyes had travelled to Essex County in Vermont. Whilst there, he buried one of his kill kits in a remote wooded area. Then, in 2011, he returned and unearthed the kit. Under the canopy of the trees, he sat patiently in wait until anyone, crossed his path so he could murder them. And on
Fucking
that
predator.
day, it was Mr. and Mrs. Courier.
Perched up in a tree. Don't you like to climb
Opening this,
trees?
he used what we call a blitz approach, not all guns blazing, but certainly gun waving, rather than having any contact or building up a confidence with them.
From there, he took them to a farmhouse.
Armed with a gun and zip ties, he broke into the home of the couriers and cut the phone lines.
During this event, Bill has come off the stool where he left him and tries to run. At about 50 years old, Bill is no match for Israel Keyes, who is young, who is fit, who has been in the army. And so he shoots Bill, and Lorraine has to watch. After he's done that, he sexually assaults Lorraine and then he kills her.
Oh, you suck motherfucker.
When he's finished, he bundles the bodies up and he dumps them.
You know about Lake Crescent in Washington? How deep is it? I think that lake is 5 to 7 feet deep. They've never been to the bottom of it. There's people who have gone off that lake, and they still have their cars are in that lake.
That's actually quite chilling, I think, because this is about his abduction and murder of the couriers who disappear. This is really what brings him to national attention in the United States. Does he make a mistake, Michael, in your view, about talking so openly about the lake? Because is that revealing to us, or revealing to the detectives, potentially where there might be other victims?
Well, it could be, but he's only talking about a case that he knows that detectives have knowledge of. So he's just talking around things that they're familiar with. But there's also the question is, would he have actually led them to the right place? We know from other serial killers that they think they know where it is. They think they can lead the police there. The police dig, and there's nothing. So the police can't always rely upon what serial killers say.
So there's this idea again of trying to only allow the kind of information that he wants to be given, this idea that he wants to be in control of the process, even over how the bodies of the couriers would be found. Okay, let's listen to the next tape.
Like I said from the beginning, there's certain aspects of the things that I've done that I would prefer never became public.
If something else were to get out,
Well, that's too bad.
especially in a different area or something.
Everybody knows now, including your daughter.
There's the whole Nia Bay aspect of it now too. You know, it's like my kids living in Nia Bay now, and gossip is the town pastime. So
He didn't want the local community to know that he was involved. This idea of protecting his reputation, protecting his image,
even though he's arrested for murder. That kind of moral double standard seems to be riven through a number of murderers I've worked with.
But he also wants to present himself in a certain way. So he doesn't want to be seen in the way that the police are portraying him and the media are portraying him, where in fact that's the reality. So he wants the public to have a distorted perception of who he is.
The problem is nowadays, the more stuff my name is attached to, the more likely it is that somebody's going to try to do some kind of stupid freaking TV special.
And you're on one right now, buddy.
Now, that's interesting, isn't it? That sense in which a stupid TV special, that concern for his reputation, even though this is somebody who's committed murder. Where does that come from?
Well, it may be that actually he's saying that, but that's not what he really wants. He really does want a TV series. He wants to be popular. He wants to be at the front and to have his story told.
News of Keyes' involvement in the deaths of the couriers began to spread across the media. Yet he was still determined to maintain whatever little control he had over his life. And this included demanding that the state take it and execute him.
Well, there's another factor that I just occurred to me recently with the sentencing portion is if whoever happens to be sentencing me knows that the death penalty is what I want.
Well, that's why we're here negotiating. You have stuff you want, we have stuff we want. Yeah, can we promise you absolutes? No. Yeah, we're just both doing our best to try to come to some sort of resolution.
He didn't see his life as something he valued beyond that love that he had of successfully killing.
He sees himself as someone who has been caught by the enemy, and to kill himself is the only honourable way forward. He sees this as the only honourable course of action open to him.
He cuts his wrist and he strangles himself with a bedsheet.
Damn.
Why does he commit suicide?
Because in one sense, he doesn't want to carry on living the life that he's lived. He knows he can't commit further offences. He doesn't want to spend the rest of life in prison, so he ends it.
Is it the ultimate form of giving control back to him? He's going to decide that he'll take his life rather than a court, a judge, a jury.
It is, and we know other serial killers who take their own lives because they want that ultimate control to determine whether or not they're going to live.
Even when it came to his conviction, he was still in control. He still dictated the terms. He left a 3 or 4 page note, an ode to murder, which was blood-soaked under him. This is the last thing he did. This is the last thing he wrote. It was an ode to murder.
If you want to be famous as a serial killer, you deny your offences, you go to court, they hear all the juicy, horrible details of what happened, people remember your name. If you admit to the crime, you don't get the same press attention. And if you commit suicide before trial, then you get even less attention. He stops the trial progressing. That way, he doesn't get the attention.
During his lengthy interviews with the police, Keyes expressed no remorse for his crimes and utter contempt for the whole justice process. Under questioning, he also alluded to other possible victims. His final tally may have gone into double figures. Koenig and the couriers are the only victims named by Keyes because he knew that the authorities had tied him to their deaths. The names and the last resting place of the others he would take to his own grave, and in doing so, deny his victims any dignified burial of their own. Keyes wanted his interviewers to believe he was an enigma, but Keyes was no enigma.
He was a narcissist who put the perpetuation of his own self-myth before the truth. And the simple truth is that he was a man who killed because he enjoyed it.
Keyes' suicide left investigators frustrated by the many secrets of his crimes, which he took to the grave. But the FBI continued to replay his interviews and trawl through their records, looking at mysterious disappearances that he may have been connected with. One of these included a woman by the name of Deborah Feldman. She'd been a sex worker in New Jersey who had last been seen near her home in Hackensack. The authorities began to suspect that she'd been abducted and drugged by Keyes, who had then driven hundreds of miles to a place called Tupper Lake. With her defenseless in the trunk of his car, he had stepped out and robbed a bank. The crime caught on CCTV. Investigators believe that Keyes then traveled to the lake, where after killing Deborah Feldman, he weighted her body and cast her into the water. During his interviews, interrogators believed he had alluded to an unnamed victim finding such a watery grave by asking and posing a series of questions about Tupper Lake. Yet once again, on being questioned about the details of the crime, instead of giving a straight answer, he delighted in toying with his interrogators. One of Keyes' most outrageous claims was that to elaborate on his crimes would only add to his notoriety, something he was allegedly against.
I don't know how deep it was. I know the general area. I had a fish finder, but it didn't register how deep it was. I just know it was over.
Maxed out at 100 feet.
No, he's laying out and covering up at exactly the same time, which is something that we're both familiar that lots of murderers will do.
Yes.
And why is that? Why do they want to lay out and cover up at the same time?
To try and prevent detection, because they want to carry on doing what they're doing. You know that there's more offences. I know that there's more offences that I've committed, but you haven't really got a clue about that information, and I'm not going to tell you.
And that's about power, and that's about control.
How long does the body last in a freshwater lake? I mean, 'cause there's no critters that eat
It depends how.
bodies in
It depends how
freshwater lakes, right?
deep. I learned a lot.
Because it depends on deep, the
Depends how deep it
temperature of
is,
the water.
and if the body is contained in something.
And it's not critters, it can be like bacteria, organisms.
Here we've got Keyes being incredibly interested in police work itself, in detection itself. What's going on there?
He's wanting to know what the police really know, and does their knowledge correlate with his knowledge? So he would have known that if you put a body into water, it will decompose. What he's checking out is how long that will be for. Is the police understanding the same as his? Do they know more than him? But also, he could be connected with those other murders that he's committed, and how close are the police to actually tracking down those?
He almost admits to doing the other killings, apart from actually saying it, and then refuses point blank to give them any pointers as to where the bodies may be, or to make it easy for the police. He just used the situation to annoy and toy with the police.
I almost feel guilty. Costing the taxpayers a lot of money to find them. But just kept my mouth shut.
It is remarkable that when Israel Keyes is told how much it's costing to excavate the bodies of his horrible killing spree, that his reaction is to say they should not bother. It shows just how deeply entrenched the prejudice is that he genuinely sees these other people as the enemy, and therefore it makes no sense to spend any money on them, even when they're dead.
And I've seen that in other cases where offenders have just never told, never spoken, no matter how much victims' families try to get that information, they hang on to it. And I think that psychologically is about power and control to the last.
true extent of Keyes's crimes may never be known. By taking his own life, he denied many families across America the right to know exactly what had happened to a loved one who had disappeared, a loved one who may have lost their life at the hands of Israel Keyes.
I would never say you could ever have a grudging admiration, because it is too contemptible and malign. But you have to acknowledge that this man was exceptionally good at what he did.
He's been convicted of 3 individual murders, but it's thought that he could have killed up to 11 people, possibly more.
Because of the way he toyed with investigators and the fact that he's now dead, it's highly unlikely we will ever know the true title of his victims.
He's probably one of the lesser known serial killers globally, and that's mainly because there was no trial. He killed himself pre-trial, so you didn't get the media hype, you didn't get the media sensation, the monster attack, if you like. So his cunning and his ingenuity in committing these crimes was never really put into print and put out into the world.
It's the final cruelty from them is that they leave everyone in abeyance, their lives stuck, never knowing what happened, never knowing the full story. There's no closure ever, and it's their one last gesture of cruelty, really.
The investigation can go on, and people will be asking questions as to why you're doing it. The answer, of course, is for the families of the deceased. So that is not something they have control of.
Fucking freak of nature. Freak of nature.
Like, what the? Well, I mean, like I said, Zip had a history of ripping people off. Yeah, he never ripped me off. Otherwise, he wouldn't have. Did he technically do? I mean, if he kept the money that supposedly true. So I ripped off for $1 million.
Yeah. If that's what happened, yeah. They sure said it. The FBI said that. The people down, U.S. attorneys, all of it. They said that. Zip's a piece. They said he's a piece. But I didn't ever know that he got no money.
All right, Chase, what do you got?
I'm not going to talk to you guys on this one. I'm going to talk to you. Sitting at home out there, in this one video, I want you to do some profiling work on your own. So I'm going to give you one tool to take a look at this video when it comes back up. And all I want you to do is to apply this one tool to the video while you're watching it. And once you see how powerful this is to kind of see behind the curtain, I think you're going to start using this in your everyday life. So here's the tool that when you use it, I think you'll be addicted to it. So what I want you to do is carefully observe what someone criticizes and condemns. What do they criticize and condemn? So this can reveal a ton about a person's behavior. Let me just give you, I'm going to give you a few things that it can reveal. I'll let you decide what's being revealed here. The first one is values and beliefs, because these mirror our personal values. It can reveal some insecurities and some projection. So these are traits that somebody is insecure about in themselves. Some past traumas can come up when somebody's sensitive to some kind of specific issue. There's some cultural influence that can come up, reflecting some societal or cultural norms that a person spent some time in. Then we have some personal boundaries that you'll see, and this hints at their comfort zone. So you can start determining somebody's comfort zone. Then hidden desires can come up. This is what they secretly want or secretly want to get behind that wall. Then there's some superiority needs. And this is when somebody's trying to establish a moral or intellectual dominance here. And finally, we have internal conflicts when they're struggling with something internally, or affiliations. And this is their maybe criticizing because of some kind of group loyalty or bias. And I'll let you take a look, leave it in the comments. For the first time in my life, I will actually open the comments on our videos and take a look. I'll read them. Scott, what do you got?
All right. Me, this sounds like that he's admitting the money was coming to him for shooting Tupac. That's what it sounds like from what this guy TK is saying. And if TK is saying that if he had gotten the money from Zip, if Keefe had gotten the money from Zip, then the payment would have been made, which would make that murder for hire. So what's here? This is the video. If this is true, what this guy's saying, Puff Daddy's going to prison forever, because that's intent to pay this guy to murder somebody. Whether he got paid or not, it doesn't matter. The money was on the way. It was in the pipeline. And that's why that payment was executed. So if they can, Greg and I talked about this earlier, if that can be traced back to Puff Daddy, he's done. That's it. And that's what the big hoo-ha on the internet is about all this. Because the intent to murder somebody, and you paid for it, and it happened, but just because the money didn't get to that person, the courier didn't get it there, doesn't mean you're not in trouble, doesn't mean you're not guilty. That we're all familiar with that. That's intent. And so if they can prove that, then he did execute that payment to him, even though, again, the courier didn't get the money to him. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. He's still going to go to prison forever for that. And I think if they'll start, which I'm sure they are, I'm sure that's what this may be the reason that they're brought back up and arrested this guy, the cops or the FBI, whoever got him. That's what's happening. And I'll bet you anything, that's what they laid this whole thing on, is that story right there from TK.
Damn.
Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, so it's murder for IOU, no difference. If you try to hire somebody to murder someone, you go to prison. It happens all the time. There's sting operations where people try to hire FBI agents. So that part is a given. The interesting piece to me here, and we're talking about it may not be him that pulled the trigger, but his organization. That's what he would be saying is, look, this happened. But they don't appear to be hiding there's no logic to the thing. It would, as you said, it would be murder if the payment had been made. No, it still would be murder. However, as he goes through it, he doesn't say this did not happen. He doesn't say any of that. He says, this guy's a scumbag and kept the money. Well, did that really happen? If it didn't, you're pretty stupid to say the FBI told me that and these guys told me that and this. However, I can also tell you this. If I were an FBI agent and I were interrogating this guy, I would do everything possible to drive wedges. I would be hate of opponent, hate of guy who cheated me. I would do all that, and I would ensure that that guy believed that there was money heading his way. Now, the only thing that doesn't make any sense is if I thought there was any way that I would be implicated for killing someone for money, I wouldn't admit it, which makes me now start to go, did that really happen? Did any of that really happen? Or was it just he was angry and they went to do something and he was going to shoot him? And, he didn't get shot in the head. We all know, Chase, most people can't hit anything when they're under duress. They're shooting wildly. And he may have emptied an entire clip into the car and caused a whole bunch of stuff to happen. So who knows? But here you see that he shows concern only one time, and that's when he's saying he never stole from me. And then he has to point out, well, if he did take the money, then he stole from me. Oh, yeah. Which makes me think this whole story might be a little bit of hogwash. Mark, what do you got?
Okay.
Mark, what do you got?
Here's what I want you to do is go back and listen to Greg try and explain the intricacy of this story. And Greg's pretty good at laying down a linear line of like how something, but it's hard to follow. And if it's hard to follow when Greg's trying to explain it, there's summing up with it. There's something not quite right about this situation. Now, I agree with you, Greg. Is this a situation? Now, actually, having said that, TK is pretty fluent about how he's putting his story across. Compare that with the guy before and after. The fluency isn't so good. So how come one is very, very fluent and the other not so fluent around that? I haven't got any theories around that. What I do have some theories about is just your point, Greg. Yeah, absolutely. If you were at FBI, you would use pretty much any tool that you legally could in order to pit people against each other and lay down ideas that might be able to tip people towards giving you information. Also, you might not, if you were one of these guys, you might let a rumor and not go, no, there's no way I paid nobody any money. You might let that rumor because it doesn't do your PR and the type of person or affiliations you want to be seen as have some kind of resonance and strength. So, is it the FBI putting ideas forward? Is it, I guess, Puff, allowing these rumors a little bit because the rumors are good? I don't know, but something isn't right about it because it's not a clear story that somebody who is usually able to put a clear story together is able to tell. There's something up with it, or something's missing that we're not being told about this, or it just didn't happen at all. I don't know which one, but maybe the courts will make that clear at some point.
One of those tape replays.
There was the rumor that after Pac got killed, Puffy gave Zip $1 million that was supposed to be handed over, and Zip ended up keeping it. And I remember when I interviewed TK Kirkland, who was actually roommates with Zip at one point. They were that close. He actually said, yeah.
The fans said that too.
He said that actually happened. Well, the story that has circulated was that after Tupac got killed, Puffy allegedly gave the money,
I heard,
to Zip.
Yes.
And Zip was supposed to give the money to Keefe and them.
Yes.
But he never gave the money to him.
But thank God he never gave him the money, right? Think about it. If he gave the money, Puffy will be in prison now, money for hire, a murder for hire. So thank God. It's just a true story. I'm not saying yes or no, but if he would have gave them the money, it'd have been a murder for hire and Puffy would be locked up.
The FBI said they said he's a dirty.
Yeah, and he even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that. Or else it would have been like a murder for hire or something. You know what I'm saying?
The FBI said just
so the FBI told you the same thing. So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's the dirt. Everybody cross you. You're the last one to know everything. Even lawyers, your friends, everybody can cross your ass. You just don't know. Even the dudes you was riding in the car with every day, like a LoJack. Like, what the?
Well, I mean, like I said, Zip had a history of ripping people off.
Yeah. He never ripped me off.
Well,
otherwise he wouldn't have.
Did he technically do? I mean, if he kept the money that supposedly.
True.
So actually, he ripped you off for $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's what happened, yeah. They sure said it. The FBI said that. The people down, yeah, U.S. attorneys, all that, they said that. Zip's a piece. They said he's a piece. But I didn't ever know that he got no money.
Shoot, I got you. They don't want to take the other bottles. I can dig it.
You saying that's been the same bottle like that for 2 years?
Oh no, I don't even. Hey yo, the only thing I speak about is Ciroc, man. Guys, you know what I'm saying?
I'm God. You said it. I'm saying we can't have one bottle and
I like to talk to my family. Y'all my family. I like to talk to. We on the same team, so I'm just letting y'all know. I'm just trying to get out here and hustle, man. I'm an entrepreneur, man.
See more bottles of Ciroc.
That's all. I just wanted to ask on air, on live, on Revolt. You know what I'm saying? We doing some business together. You know what I'm saying?
Cases or something.
I'm gonna send so many damn cases. You ain't have to say a word because I can understand people want to take the bottles. There's a lot of liquor up there they may not want to take home, but they want to take that Ciroc home, baby.
Now let's talk some hip hop shit, man. I want to talk to Puff right now.
Yes.
Now it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah. Check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there with all due respect. But I appreciate you as a journalist asking.
All right.
Thank you.
And I saw you started the.
Puppet smooth.
That's all you got to do. Artists don't understand that.
People get upset about the question. You got to just say.
Oh, no. Hey, yo, I'm going to tell y'all this. This is very important. I got this new hashtag. It's called New Life. I got to start living. I had to start living a new life, man. The way I was approaching things, the way I was reacting to things, you know what I'm saying? Just, we all grow up. We all, you know, do things in ways that maybe you could do better. And I'm just trying to figure out ways to do better. I know I'm in the public eye. I got to handle all types of different stuff. Y'all have a job to do. So, it ain't no problem, but I'm in control of what I say. And I don't get into nonsense. I don't have nothing but love for everybody. You know, God sent me on this earth to give life, to inspire life, to only do things that are positive. Any negative things that I've done, that's the devil at work. And at the end of the day, the devil's a liar, and I can't feed into negativity or anything like that when I'm in control of myself. So I gotta always be trying to strive and to get better. So I really thank you. It's encouraging that you're saying that, you know, you feel like, you know, I'm reacting to things a little better, because I'm actually making an effort. And I want to tell people out there, like, you can change. You know what I'm saying? If you can change. You know what I'm saying? If you, I mean, Charlamagne has grown. Charlamagne has grown. I think we've all grown.
All right, I'll go first on this one. Goes from extremely animated to almost a statue again, just like we've seen earlier with KPD. When the question comes up, it doesn't really get to a question. He just talks about an interview, and he sees it coming. And so he tries to shut that down. And we see him get really quiet. He pulls that mic up. He scoots down a little bit. And he takes his pen. He starts pushing it into his face. And that's one way we get rid of built up stress and tension. That's another way to pacify yourself. And sometimes if we've been pulling on it, we would call that facial distortion. If he's pulling on his face or pushing on his face to make it look different, but he's pushing on it with his pen. And then he starts chaffing and redirecting and ends up talking about God's mission that God wants him to do, how the good things he wants him to do. He starts talking about how he's changed and how things are different. He gets to the specifics of what a great guy he is now, but he used to be not a great guy. So that to me right there says a whole lot when we see and hear all that. Now, at the same time, he should have as well shut this down when that started. He should have said, I know where you're going with this, but you know what? I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't me. I didn't have anything to do with it. I did not do what you're getting ready to talk about, and I don't want to talk about it. And he should have gotten up, in my opinion. He maybe should have bowed up a little bit and said, so we're not going there to talk about that. If that's what you're doing, because I see where this is going, we're not doing that. We'll talk about this other stuff. Are we good? And go from there. But he never does that at all. He just keeps talking about what a wonderful guy he's turned into and the mission that God has planned out for him. So that for me is enough, in my opinion, to go, okay, and then light him up. If it was a normal interview or interrogation situation, that would be my approach anyway. All right, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, a couple of things you already covered. He's got a lot of illustrators going when he's doing this whole, he's doing a whole entertainer piece. He's loud, he's doing all that. And then when Charlamagne asks him the question about, now let's talk hip hop, he turns and he does some appearance enhancement. He licks his lips because he's thinking it's going to be hip hop talk, not, hey, did you pay to have somebody killed? You know that happens? He uses, the only way I'm going to describe this is he Cosby's. He does Bill Cosby to the letter. We don't talk about that. Remember Bill Cosby doing exactly that to control the situation. Doesn't make him look good. His cadence shifts. You hear a bump, bump, bump change. He goes to internal voice. You see, look down and to his left. He adapts to that pin to his face. And after he gets through the whole thing, guys, I rarely say something looks like Dupers to me. That looks like it to me. That quick little turn to the side of the mouth when he says, as a journalist, boom. That to me just does not look good. Then he chaffs and redirects eloquently into how his life has gotten better. A person who's not guilty, we typically associate. Look, we're not telling we can read minds. This is my opinion. If you didn't do anything, you sure need some help, because here's the key. You look for the world like you're hiding something. When you do all those things we just said, We talk about clusters. Chase, I'm sure you'll go down the list of what's on your BTOE, but as we look at it, he's adapting. He shifts word patterns. He changes cadence. His voice gets lower. He goes to inner voice. He changes and gets away from it, looks like dupers, and then he goes to insulate himself and take high ground or holy ground. All those things make you look, put it this way, if that happened in an interrogation room, it would be bare knuckles. I mean, we would go at it for a while voice-wise. I mean, when I say bare knuckles, I'm not talking about punch you, but it would be a rough ride in an interrogation room because I would use every trick I know to get into your head to figure out what's going on. Those are really big red flags. Chase, what do you got?
So I'm just going to break down the narratives only in this. So just the narratives that he's using here. Now I'm going to leave body language out of it. He says things, we're not going to talk about things that are nonsense. If it's someone else's fault, then maybe he can call it nonsense, and we'll see where he's going with that. And he says, I've got to start living a new life. And this is about a realization to become a new person who isn't doing bad stuff. And then he says, any negative things that I've done, that's the devil at work. This literally says that it's someone else's fault and not his. And this is started getting down a confession route here. This is like pre-confession language here because they're showing you the pathway they need to hear to start making a confession. And he says the devil's a liar. So now the person or thing responsible for all of that bad behavior is deceptive, meaning he might have been tricked into doing what he did. So again, another layer of insulation to make it not his fault. Then he says, God sent me on this earth to give life, to inspire life. Looking at what he said and his desire to just live a new life, the opposite of this in his previous life would be taking life, or at least maybe having lives taken, which would literally be the second part of what he said, which was inspiring death instead of inspiring life, making something happen through someone else. And he says, I'm reacting to things a little better. I'll leave that up to you to understand what he's hinting at there. Then he's saying, you can change. Not I changed, you can change. So this is all about the narrative of a character arc or a hero's journey, where if they decide to change, they're no longer responsible for things in their past. They're completely cleansed. Then he says, we've all grown. And then he says, this guy next to him has grown. He's socializing the issue, making it clear to you very covertly that other people have grown. But this also means that he's saying that lots of other people have done bad things and have grown out of the capacity to do them. That was long. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah. So here's what I'd say about this. We've got a showman, we've got a salesman here. And the first part of the showman salesman is selling alcohol. I think Ciroc or something like that. I think it's a type of alcohol. And also managing this barrage. I mean, Greg, to your point of going bare knuckles, he is being rolled by these people around him. He's getting a fare. He knows what's coming and it's already happening. He knows where they're going with this. And so he is there going, can we get onto the sort, can we just deal with me selling the alcohol? Essentially, he wants to get back to what he sees as his job and his brand now, which is to sell alcoholic beverages. So there he is in that position, trying to control being rolled by these people. And then he changes his control mechanism, Chase, to the narrative that you're talking, a whole different tempo, a whole different style around this, to now, I think, protect his PR and protect his public representation of himself around this entity that sells, some kind of quality alcohol or whatever that stuff is. Never drunk it. Could be quite nice for all I know. Now, look, the thing is what you could do here with your public, representation and relations is to go, look, this is an idea that we let, mill around. It was a rumor. We let the rumor go because it was kind of good for my image at the time, but just want to set the records straight. I paid no money to anybody. I was nothing to do with this. It was just good. That was the image we wanted to get across, and it was a useful rumor, and a rumor was all it is. But he's not doing that. No, I don't know whether he paid money to anybody. I have zero idea or really concern about that. Maybe I should have some concern, but I don't really. But he's not managing that particularly well. So we've not made a choice, I think, because you've got to make a really clear choice here. You can't have, I've changed my life, but I will let a rumor still rumor. You've got to be able to go, I've changed my life. I don't want this brand anymore. And it was just a brand. It was just a story. It was just a piece of artistic imagination. And I've left that behind. Just like other artists would say, I don't wear that costume anymore. I'm not doing that act anymore. My act now is this. What he's done is to allow, as many great artists do actually, is to allow real fantasy to get mistaken for real life and then not correct that. Other artists do correct it. David Bowie would say, look, I would not actually come down from space. But that was the act that I was doing at the time. I don't do that act anymore. I'm now doing this act over here. Very, very clear clarification, and won't go back and do that act. Anyway, just as you're saying, Greg, not great for clarity here, not great for control, but interesting that we see these two different ways that he's trying to control being rolled by this interview.
One of those tape replays.
Shoot, I got you. They don't want to take the other bottle. I can dig it.
You saying that's been the same bottle laughing for 2 years?
Oh no, I don't even. Hey yo, the only thing I speak about is Ciroc, man. You know what I'm saying? But
I'm God. You said it. I'm saying we can't take one bottle and
I like to talk to my family. Y'all my family. I like to talk to. We on the same team, so I'm just letting y'all know. I'm just trying to get out here and hustle, man. I'm an entrepreneur, man. That's all. I just wanted to ask on air, on live, on Revolt. You know what I'm saying? We're doing some business together. You know what I'm saying?
Cases or something.
I'm gonna send so many damn cases. You ain't have to say where, because I can understand people want to take the bottles. There's a lot of liquor up there they may not want to take home, but they want to take that Ciroc home, baby.
Now let's talk some hip hop shit, man. I want to talk to Puff right now.
Yes.
Now it was this documentary that claimed, which we know wasn't true.
Yeah. Check this out. We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking.
All right.
Thank you.
And I saw you started the.
That's all you got to do. Artists don't understand.
People get upset about the question. You got to just say.
Oh, no. Hey, I'm going to tell y'all this. This is very important. I got this new hashtag. It's called New Life. I got to start living it. I had to start living a new life, man. The way I was approaching things, the way I was reacting to things, you know what I'm saying? Just, we all grow up. We all, do things in ways that maybe you could do better. And I'm just trying to figure out ways to do better. I know I'm in the public eye. I got to handle all types of different stuff. Y'all have a job to do. So, it ain't no problem, but I'm in control of what I say. And I don't get into nonsense. I don't have nothing but love for everybody. God sent me on this earth to give life, to inspire life, to only do things that are positive. Any negative things that I've done, that's the devil at work. And at the end of the day, the devil's a liar, and I can't feed into negativity or any things like that when I'm in control of myself. So I gotta always be trying to strive and to get better. So I really thank you. It's encouraging that you're saying that, you feel like, I'm reacting to things a little better, because I'm actually making an effort. And I want to tell people out there, like, you can change. You know what I'm saying? You can change. You know what I'm saying? Charlemagne has grown. Charlemagne has grown. I think we've all grown.
Just one more thing.
Mark, how's it looking to you so far? What do you see?
Yeah, well, there's some complexity there. There's some stories there that don't quite make sense. There's some stuff, I think, which is quite clear. I tell you what I think right now. I'm actually quite interested in this story now. I'm actually quite interested in how this plays out. I might be a little bit hooked to this one. as it goes forward. That's all I'll say about it. Chase, what do you got so far?
Looks like there is a ton of concealment and artificiality going on here. It's a display. It's a posturing display. And Greg, earlier you were saying, why would he do this? Why would he do that? In my opinion, he was just grown up in this environment that prioritized significance over safety. So his safety matters less than how significant he is to him. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here is a very complex world. Number one, being the bad guy is the good guy in the world that these guys are talking about. And in fact, when you heard this guy, Keefe, talking about Suge Knight making it to be 100 millionaire before he came back to be a thug, look, that then is celebrated. And by the way, that's celebrated American culture today. I say this to young people I meet. Yeah, that guy can get away with driving 150 miles an hour and getting a ticket, but you got to go to work next week and you're going to be in trouble. So it's celebrated in our culture to some degree. When that's celebrated, then things become more and more complex. So he has to act tough. He has to be this. He has to be that. And to your point, Mark, it's possible he let a rumor run because it made him have more clout. Now, that would explain also why the complex story from the two guys before, from Keefe D and the other guy. I'm going to let this rumor play that he was going to pay me this money and do this. And that all seems all well and good until it comes down to a point where now it's compounding and it appears that you're going to be locked up. And this guy's been in jail for 15 years of his life already. You'll be locked up for the rest of your life for taking money to kill somebody. And we'll see how it plays out. Do I see a smoking gun to tell me, no pun intended, do I see a smoking gun to tell me that this person killed this guy for money? No, but there's a whole lot of body language that looks like he's tied up in the murder of Tupac. Now, the Diddy piece, little tougher, but he did himself no favor by the way he managed that Cosby-like. We don't talk about that. Scott, what are you seeing?
All right. I think when you have a situation like this and you're questioning somebody like Keefe D, once you get to that, let's say this was an interrogation and this is a different situation, and you get all these cues, you get all these things that tell you this guy's probably being deceptive or maybe being deceptive. You let it lay like that and leave everything as calm as it is. And you get up and leave for about 10 minutes and let him think a little bit, let him go up in his head. He's been talking slow. His thought process is fairly slow. Everything's just moving along, just creeping along at a snail's pace. Then when you come in after that 10 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes passes, you come in and you come in hot. I mean, you come in confrontational and light him up and start presenting your side of it faster, a little quicker, and from different angles and make him start thinking. So he almost gets confused. It's almost like a confusion style you do. And you start throwing things out from different directions as he starts trying to answer these. That's how, in my opinion, how you get him boxed in. And it wouldn't happen really fast, but it would happen. I think you'd get it done in about an hour and a half once you started that happening. That would be my approach on it. Now, my opinion on this is, and it's just my opinion, this is what I think, and I could be wrong, probably am the whole time. Everything I've said on there is just an opinion. It's what I think. I think maybe Puff Daddy might be in a lot of trouble from looking at this and listening to all this. And I think this guy, Keefe D, is going to be in a lot of trouble as well, because everything lines up to and points to them. They were there, or Keefe D was there. He had that connection with Puff, and that thing's been explained by the guy, TK. And if they can work that out and connect all those things together, that's going to close this. That's what will close the case. And they'll both go away forever. That's the way it looks to me. Again, that's just my opinion. All right, fellas, thinks it's another good one, and we'll see you next time.
So what do you got?
Mm.